Hello, welcome back, and thanks for clicking on this next Algebra 1 production. Today, we're going to be talking about standard form, finding x and y intercepts algebraically, and how we can use the x and y intercept to make a graph. Okay, so let's get started on some things that you already should know or should remember, I hope. So let's see what we have in store. So the first thing that we're going to talk about here is actually standard form. What is standard form? So the standard form of a linear equation is this: ax plus by equals c. Okay, so we already have some other forms that we know, right? We know slope-intercept form. Okay, slope-intercept form, right? Everybody knows that one. It's y equals mx plus b. Okay, so this is a different way to write the form of a line. Ax plus by equals c. All right, so you notice some things that are different from slope-intercept form. You see that x and y are both on the same side, right? X and y are your variables. A, b, and c, they're all numbers. Okay, they're all numbers, and they have to be integers. All right, so that's positive or negative whole numbers, or zero. Zero is also allowed. And a has to be a number that is greater than or equal to 0. Okay, so we're going to talk about putting things in standard form later on in this chapter. For right now, you just need to recognize standard form as looking like this. X and y are on the same side. There's a number on the other side. All right, so that's standard form. Okay, so now let's talk about some other things that we have done before. X and y intercepts. Okay, so to find x and y intercepts, here we are on a graph again. Remember, the x-intercept is the point at which the graph intersects the x-axis. So in this case, it would be this point right here. And we'd name it as a point. We'd have to go 2 spaces to the right. So the name of this point would be 2, 0, right? Okay, that would be your x-intercept. And then we also have a y-intercept. Okay, on this line that we have here, the y-intercept is the point at which the graph touches the y-axis, which is right here at this point. We name it as a point. The name of this point is 0, negative 2. You have to go down 2 spaces, go left and right 0. All right, so there would be your y-intercept. Okay, so now let's just review and make sure you remember that. And it's your turn. You're going to try this one. And your turn again, one more time. Okay, so now what we want to do today, or what we want to try to accomplish, is we want to show you how to graph an equation using your x and y intercepts. Okay, so this works really well in standard form. We talked a little bit about standard form a couple slides ago. Remember, this is your standard form, ax plus by equals c. Okay, and you're going to see some numbers plugged in here in just a couple minutes. All right, so this is usually the best form. So standard form is the best for using intercepts. For graphing, all right? So that's important. Okay, standard form is the best for intercepts for graphing. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. We're going to graph linear equations in standard form using intercepts. So now we've already done this, right? We've already made graphs of lines. We did slope-intercept form, okay? But now we're going to do it with standard form. All right, so let's take a look. So the question on the table is, how do we find an x and y intercept algebraically, not graphically? If you don't have the graph, you just have an equation, how could you find an x and a y intercept? All right, so let's talk about some things that we already know. We actually have them listed here for you, but let's see it in a graph, and sometimes that helps people to actually visualize what it is that we're talking about. So here's my graph, okay? If we talk about an x-intercept is a point at which the graph intersects the x-axis. So like this point here, this point here, this point here, this point there, right? All of those are x-intercepts. Now, if we look at those points that are on the x-intercept, and I asked you to name them as a point, okay? Well, I didn't tell you how far over to go, right? To the left or to the right. But the one thing you know about all of these points, every one of them, is that you're not going to go up or down. So the y-coordinate for every one of these is going to be a 0, right? Every point on the x-axis, the y-coordinate is 0. So to find an x-intercept algebraically, we are going to set the y-coordinate equal to 0 in our equation, okay? To find the x-intercept algebraically, we're going to set the y-coordinate equal to 0. Now, all the same is if you want to find a y-intercept. Well, here's a graph. Let's talk about what that looks like. Well, you would have all these points here on the y-axis, right? Those are y-intercepts, okay? And we know something about all these points. For every one of them, you don't go to the left or to the right. You only go up and down. So what does that mean for me? If you want to find a y-intercept algebraically, you need to set the x-coordinate equal to 0. Okay, that's how we're going to do this. All right, and we'll see it in action on the next slide when we actually go find these and then actually go and make the graph. Okay, all right, so let's see what else we have here. So here we go. It's time. We are going to find the x and y intercepts in this equation. Here's my equation in standard form. It's 3x plus 5y equals 15. You can see the x and y are on the same side. Okay, this is standard form. And then we're going to graph it after we find the x and y intercepts. Okay, so this is a two-step process. You have to do the x-intercept different from the y-intercept. So you have to do them separate from each other. So let's show you how to do this. Let's find the x-intercept first. So to find the x-intercept, you are going to set the y-coordinate equal to 0. Okay, set the y equal to 0. So let's go up in our equation here. We have 3x plus 5y equals 15. We're going to make the y-coordinate a 0. So we're just going to plug 0 in for y. And if we do, well, 5 times 0 is just 0. Right? 5 times 0 is 0. 3x plus 0, well, that's just 3x. So 3x equals 15. And if we divide by 3 on both sides, we will solve for x, and we get x equals 5. So now what this does is this gives me my x-intercept. You got to finish it out here. Your x-intercept, your x-coordinate is 5, and the y-coordinate was 0. That's the 0 from up here that you plugged in. Okay, the y-coordinate is a 0. All right? Okay, that's half of it. Now you also have to go and find the y-intercept. So let's go and find the y-intercept over here, right next to it. To find the y-intercept, you have to set the x equal to 0. So let's come back up here to my equation, 3x plus 5y equals 15. We're going to set the x-coordinate equal to 0 now. Plug in 0 for x. 3 times 0 is 0. So 0 plus 5y is just going to be a 5y equals 15. And divide by 5 on both sides. And we have y equals 3. Okay, so now my point that I'm going to put on the graph, x comma y, the x is 0. That's the number I plugged in. The y coordinate came out to be 3. Okay, so here's my y-intercept. And this is my x-intercept, 5, 0. All right, now we're going to use these 2 points to actually go make a line, right? Because how many points does it take to make a line? Just 2. If you have 2 points, you know exactly where to connect them, and it creates a line. So we have 5, 0, and 0, 3. So let's go on to the next slide here. There's a graph here for us to use. We have our x-intercept. Let's just rewrite what we had again. X-intercept was 5, 0, and our y-intercept is 0, 3. So let's go and graph. We're going to go over 5 units. Okay, don't go up or down, put a point there. And then we're going to go up 3, make a point. And if we connect them and draw all the way through the graph, okay, remember, folks, you want you to draw all the way through the graph because in the next chapter, you're going to have to figure out where graphs meet. All right, and there's your line. That's it. You're all done. You did it. Okay, that's all it took. All right, just those 2 points. You just had to take a little bit of time to find them. All right, so let's try another one here. Okay, if you kind of get the idea, maybe you want to try this one on your own. If you don't, follow along and we'll see if we can do it together. So same idea. I have 4x minus 3y equals 12. This is my equation. Again, it's in standard form. So I want to find the x and y intercepts and then graph it. So let's go for the x-intercept first. To find the x-intercept, you're going to make the y 0. We're going to set y equal to 0. Okay, so let's come underneath. We have 4x minus 3y equals 12. So here's 4x minus 3 times 0 equals 12, right? We're going to make y 0 here. So 3 times 0 is 0. 4x minus 0 is 4x. So we have 4x equals 12. And we divide by 4 on both sides. We have x equals 3. So what do we have? We have an x-intercept. X is 3. The y coordinate is 0. Okay, 3, 0. All right, let's go for the y coordinate now. The y-intercept. Let's try the y-intercept. So to find the y-intercept, we're going to set the x equal to 0. Okay, so let's go back in our equation here. 4x minus 3y equals 12. We're going to put 0 in for x. Here we go. 4 times 0 is 0. 0 minus 3y is still negative 3y. We still need the negative there. Don't drop the negative. That's a common mistake. Okay, divide both sides by negative 3 to get y alone. And we have y equals negative 4. So we have a point at x is 0. Y is negative 4. 0, negative 4. Okay, so now we have our 2 points. 0, negative 4 for the y-intercept. 3, 0 for the x-intercept. And now we're going to have enough points then to graph it. So let's take our 3, 0 and 0, negative 4. Go on to the next slide. And again, we have the x-intercept was 3, 0. The y-intercept was 0, negative 4. So 3, 0 is 3 spaces to the right. 3 spaces to the right. 0, negative 4. 1, 2, 3, 4 down. And then we're going to go draw all the way through the graph. Okay, through the 2 points as best we can. And there's our line. Okay, we just graphed it from standard form. We're all done. We just needed these 2 points first to do it. All right. All right, so here's one more. Okay, my suggestion is you try it on your own first and then play the video and make sure that you got it right. So let's try negative 4x plus 8y equals 16. So let's go for our x-intercept first. I'm going to abbreviate it x-int. We're going to have to set the y equal to 0. Okay, so we have negative 4x plus 8y equals 16. So we have negative 4x plus 8, the y is 0, equals 16. 8 times 0 is 0. I don't need the plus 0, so I have negative 4x equals 16. Divide both sides by negative 4. And we get x equals negative 4. So my point here with the x-intercept is negative 4 for x and 0 for y. So let's come over here now and look for our y-intercept. We're going to set x equal to 0. Okay, so we have negative 4. X plus 8y equals 16. So x is 0. Put the 0 in for x. And we're going to try to solve for y. Negative 4 times 0 is 0. So we have a positive, we just have 8y equals 16. We'll divide by 8. And we get y equals 2. So we have a y-intercept at 0, 2. Okay, the x was 0, and the y is 2. So now here's my 2 points. Negative 4, 0, 0, 2. We're going to take those points, and we're going to go make a graph. So negative 4, 0, and 0, 2. Oops. Okay, we have negative 4, 0, and the y-intercept is 0, 2. So negative 4, 0 is 4 spaces to the left, 0, 2, 2 spaces up. There's my 2 points, and there is my line. And that's it. That's all there is to it, okay? You got to be able to find your x-intercept. You got to be able to find your y-intercept algebraically so that you can make the line with the 2 points that you have. Okay? All right. And finally, here's a quick one for you. Read the question carefully. Make sure you're finding the correct intercept. And then after that, you're all done.